Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Guidance IAS. So, we will continue where we stopped yesterday. We were talking about the extent and the location of India. Okay, fine. So, we were discussing the latitudinal and the longitudinal extent of India. We saw that India is the seventh largest country in the world. Fine. Then the next thing that we saw the latitudinal extent of India, the mainland India, it extends from 8 degree 4 minutes north to 37 degree 6 minutes north. If you're talking about the northernmost point of India, the northernmost point of India is it lies somewhere here. This point is also called as the Indira Col. Indira Col. Now, what do you mean by coal? Can anyone explain? Is it anyone aware of this? It is nothing but the lowest point between two mountain ranges. Okay? So, coal is nothing but it is the, suppose this is a mountain range A, this is mountain range B, this point is called as usually the coal. Okay? COL, coal. And since this is the lowest point, suppose I have to cross the mountain ranges. Suppose I have to go from A mountain range to B mountain range. Definitely, I'll be using this lowest point. Okay, so coal can also be used as the passes. Okay, so they are the passes between two mountain ranges, or you can also say they are the lowest point between two mountain ranges. So if you are talking about the northernmost point of India, it is also called as the Indira Col. Fine. Then, if you're talking about the overall India, the southernmost point of the overall India, it is the Nicobar Island. Okay, it is somewhere in the Nicobar Island. It is also called as the Indira Point. Indira Point, and it extends from 6 degree 45 minutes north. Okay, so the latitudinal extent of India is from 6 degree 45 minutes north till 37 degree 6 minutes north. Fine. Then if you are talking about the longitudinal extent, if you are talking about the longitudinal extent, India extends from 68 degree, sorry, India extends from 68 degree, sorry, 7 minutes. Sometimes I do get forget and I end up 68 degree, 7 minutes east. Does happen. Up till 97 degree, 65, 25. Good. We are talking about the longitudinal extent. Whenever we are talking about the longitudinal extent, okay, it is east and the west. Okay, whenever we are talking about the latitudinal extent, it is the north and the south. So if we are talking about the distance between the westernmost point of India and the easternmost point of India, it is 2,933 kilometers. And if you're talking about the northernmost and the southernmost point of India, the distance is 3214 kilometer. Okay. Now we have seen that the latitudinal and the longitudinal extent of India, it is approximately almost equal, almost same. It is approximately 30 degree. The latitudinal and the longitudinal extent of India is approximately 30 degree. If you calculate from 8 degree 4 minutes till 37 degree, and from 68 to 97, it is almost the same. But if you find the distance, the latitudinal distance is more than the longitudinal distance, because we have seen that the longitudinal lines, they converge at the poles. The longitudinal lines, suppose this is the earth, these are the latitudes, parallel lines, and these are the longitudes, the vertical lines. If you see the longitudes, the distance between two longitudes, as you are moving from equator towards the poles, the distance between two longitudes, it is decreasing. But if you are talking about the latitudes, the distance between two latitude, it is almost the same. It is almost the same. And the distance between two latitude is approximately, on an average, it is 69 miles or 111 kilometer. Fine. And since the longitudinal distance between two longitudes, it is decreasing towards the poles, you will find that the longitudinal distance between the westernmost point of India and the easternmost point of India, it is little bit less than that of the latitudinal extent. Fine. So this is the overall extent and the location of the India. Fine. Any questions still here? Indira, in the map, it is quite difficult because it is quite a small point. Okay. So which is the northernmost point over here? So you can say this point as the Indira coal point. Fine. The northernmost point. Fine. So the next thing, if you're talking about India, here you will find that, are you aware of the different positions of the latitudes? The different latitudes present on the surface of the earth? Okay, the imaginary lines, I'll just explain in brief. Suppose this is the earth. The line that passes through the center of the earth, it is called as the equator. Okay, it is the 0 degree latitude. Then at 23.5 degree, at 23.5 degree north, we have Tropic of Cancer. And similarly, at a distance of 23.5 degree south, we have Tropic of Capricorn. Fine. So this region that lies between the two tropics, it is called as the tropical region. Fine. So this region is the tropical region. Then at 66.5 degree north, we have Arctic Circle. At 66.5 degree north, we have Arctic Circle. Similarly, at 66.5 degree south, we have Antarctic Circle. This region is also called as the temperate region. Fine. So this is the temperate region, also called as the warm temperate region. Fine. And beyond 66.5, in both the hemisphere, we have the polar region, cold polar region. Fine. So if you look at the latitudinal extent of India from 6 degree 45 minutes north right up till 37 degree 6 minute north, we can find that almost the Tropic of Cancer, it is almost dividing India into two equal parts. Can I say that? This takes a little bit of time. I don't know why. So if you see this line, this Tropic of Cancer, okay, it passes almost through the center of India. That is, it is dividing India into a tropical part and the subtropical temperate part. Fine. But still, India is considered as a tropical country only. India is still considered as a tropical country only. It is mainly because of the presence of wall-like mountains, presence of wall-like mountains, the Himalayas in the north of India, that is separating India from the rest of the Asian landmass. Okay, so the Himalayas are the dividing range that it is separating India completely from the rest of the Asia. Because of this, in the winter months, you'll find that the cold polar winds, they are not entering India, and as a result, during winter months, even in the northern belt of India, during the daytime, the temperature is quite high as compared to the other temperate regions of the world. As a result, India is considered as a mainly it is considered as a completely a tropical country. Fine. Any doubts? Any queries till here? Okay. So India has a complete unique identity because of the presence of the Himalayas. Fine. It has two aspects. The physical aspect, the Himalayas are completely blocking the cold polar winds. As a result, we have completely different physical features. Fine. And the second is the cultural aspect. The culture of India is completely different from that of the rest of the Asia. Can we say that? Here we have different religions, different caste system is there. Okay, the worship, the idols that we worship, the gods that we worship, it is completely different from that of the other parts of the Asia. That's why India is also considered as a subcontinent. Fine. India is considered as a subcontinent because it has completely different features, both physical as well as cultural, from that of the rest of the Asia. Fine. So it is mainly because of the presence of the Himalayas. Fine. Any doubts, any queries? I'll be going quite slow. Fine. So we have seen two aspects. One is the Tropic of Cancer. Okay, it is passing directly through the center of India. India should be a subtropical as well as a tropical country, but India is considered as a completely tropical country because of the presence of the Himalayas. Then India is called as the subcontinent because of the completely different physical and the cultural aspects present in India. Yes, there are many countries, but initially it is happened because of the partition. Overall, as I said yesterday, the Indian subcontinent includes Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh. So, whenever we talk about the Indian subcontinent, we refer to these five countries. Whenever we say South Asia, whenever we say South Asia, we also include Sri Lanka and Maldives. Okay, and some scholars they also include Afghanistan as well. Okay, because of the cultural linkages between India and Afghanistan in the ancient past. Fine. In ancient history, you'll study that Buddhism almost spread to Afghanistan as well. Fine. So it is because of the cultural linkages that Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Maldives, they all are considered as South Asian countries. Fine. So these are basic terminologies, but you have to use them quite carefully. Fine. So any other queries? Kushni? Then the next thing is the impacts of this latitudinal and the longitudinal extent. The impacts of the latitudinal and the longitudinal extent. As I said, that India lies in the tropical region as well as in the subtropical region, as a result of which we have vast variations in climate. We have vast variations in the vegetation, that is the forest cover, as well as the animal life and everything. You will find that during the monsoon season, we find that there is lot of rain taking place, especially on the western margins of the Western Ghats. But in the interior, the rain shadow region, the rainfall goes on decreasing, and it decreases further as it moves northward. But again, you'll find that there is lot of rainfall along the foothills of the Himalayas. So, suppose this is India. Because of the varying physical features, you'll find that there is, whenever we have southwest monsoon winds, are you aware of the southwest monsoon wind? Monsoon hota है India में, बस इतना ध्यान में रखना, because all these things will be covering in the climate of India. Fine. Whenever there is rainfall in India, you'll find that there is heavy rainfall taking place in this region. And as these winds are moving inwards, the rainfall in the interior parts, it goes on decreasing. The rainfall in the interior part, it decreases. Fine. But at these places, usually there will be high rainfall. Similarly, there is one branch of monsoon wind which comes from Bay of Bengal. And here you'll find very high rainfall. Fine. So for time being, just understand these things. So it is the latitudinal extent of India that is creating such differences in the rainfall, as well as since there is high rainfall over here, can I say the types of forest present in this region will also be completely different? Okay, so in this region you will find evergreen type of forest where there is very high rainfall taking place. You will find that there are evergreen type of forest present. Here there will be evergreen type of forest. In this region where the rainfall is little bit less, okay, deciduous and thorny type of forest will be present. Okay, so deciduous and thorny type of forest will be present. So they basically these changes are because of the difference in the latitudinal extent of the India. Fine. Then, as I said, there are also temperature changes. Nowadays, it is almost 40-45 degrees Celsius over here. But if you go to any southern coastal region, you'll find that the temperature over there will be somewhere around 30-35. Okay, so it is basically because of the change in the latitudinal position. Fine. So we have varying temperatures. One of my friend, he is in Ooty just right now, and today morning when I had a call with him, he said that he is still using his blanket during night time, and here we have to put on AC. So this is because of the change in the latitudinal extent of the overall India. Basically, Ooty is in the south, but it is a hill station at a very high altitude. So don't we'll be talking about the climate in our next lecture in detail. But for just time being, understand that the climate changes with the altitude. Fine. Then, if we're talking about the longitudinal extent, okay, as I've said that the difference between the westernmost and the easternmost point of India, it is almost 30 degrees. Okay, it is almost 30-degree. We all know that Earth completes its one rotation on its axis in 24 hours. Okay, so can I say in 24 hours, in 24 hours, Earth is completing 360-degree revolution, rotation. Okay, Earth is completing 360-degree rotation. So can I say in 1 hour, Earth will be completing 15-degree. Earth will be completing 15-degree, and in 4 minutes, it usually completes 1 degree. Fine. So if you're talking about the easternmost and the westernmost point of India, the difference is 30-degree. Okay, so the difference is 30-degree. The difference is 30-degree. So can I say the total time difference between the easternmost point of India and the westernmost point of India is almost 120 minutes? Okay, so if in Arunachal Pradesh it is, let's say, 6 a.m. in the morning, at Gujarat it will be 4 a.m. in the morning. Okay, so but we have Indian Standard Time. We have Indian Standard Time, and we have only one Indian Standard Time. The meridian, the line, the longitudinal line that passes the longitudinal line, the 82.5 degree, it passes through Lucknow Mirzapur. It passes somewhere through here. Okay, 82.5 degree east. But because of this, can I say that there are a lot of problems that people might be facing? Just imagine here it is 8 a.m. in the morning and people have to go to office. The office starts at 9 a.m. Fine. But here it is 6 a.m. So this discrepancy is definitely going to affect the work. Can I say that? So to avoid this, we have chosen a somewhere middle path, okay, and we have chosen 82.5 degree as the Indian standard longitudinal line. So all will be following this line. Fine. But still there is debates going on that still, even if we follow the Indian standard time, we are still ahead by somewhere around 1 hour or so. So this has created a lot of problems and this has created a lot of losses. But the thing is that India, we know, is a union of states. There are railways running. Okay, the schedule, the time of the railways are always fixed. Suppose a railway, it is starting from Gujarat and it wants to reach Arunachal Pradesh, and we keep on changing our clocks, so it will create a lot of problem. Okay, so because of that, we still now we have only one standard time. But to help people of Eastern India, okay, what has been advised to them, that if the office starts at, let's say, 9 a.m., you ensure that you are there at 8 a.m., so they are running little bit early. Okay, just to avoid the losses and everything. Fine. So any doubts, any queries in here? Any doubts, any queries in here? Hmm? कुछ होगा तो पूछ लेना. Fine. So this is the impact of the longitudinal extent. As I said, we have chosen 82 degree 30 minutes, 82 degree 30 minutes east as our Indian standard time. Usually, if we look, as I said, 1 degree is equal to 4 minutes. So 7 degree 30 minutes will be 30 minutes. So 7 degree 30 minutes, it will be 30 minutes. And usually all over the world, people choose their standard times in between these ranges. Okay, so that there is little bit of you can say a standardness in them, because we cannot accept some standard time which is, let's say, uh, 5 hour and 15 minutes, 5 hour 14 minutes, so it will create a lot of difficulty. So standardness has been created. So usually 7 degree 30 minute, in these slots only we choose the standard times. For example, 82 and a half degree, it will be multiple of this only. Fine. So let's move ahead with the location of India. Let's see the India and its neighbors. If you're talking about the mainland India, India shares 15,200 kilometer of land boundary with 7 countries. India shares 15,200 kilometer of land boundary with 7 countries. From west to east, if you go, there is Pakistan, then China, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. Fine. And on top, again, we have the Afghanistan as well. Yesterday, someone asked whether Afghanistan is there or not. Afghanistan, on paper, it is there, and you should accept it by heart as well. That, hey, okay, India has a 80-kilometer border with Afghanistan. Here you can see this region. It is called as the Wakhan Corridor. Okay, it is called as the Wakhan Corridor, and India has a 80-kilometer border with Afghanistan. Okay, so in anywhere you get a question on this, always say there is a border. Fine, there shouldn't be any doubt, because this region, what is this region? Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Okay, Gilgit Baltistan and everything, that is Pakistan occupied Kashmir. It has been captured by Pakistan. Okay, in an inappropriate way. Fine, in an illegal manner. See, when uh, you cannot say from independence, because all this happened in 1948. Okay, when the instrument of accession was signed. Now this is history part, but still in brief I'll just cover. When the instrument of accession was signed, at that time the uh, Jammu Kashmir state included all these area. Okay, so whenever something agreement is signed with a country, obviously it is supposed to have all the area. So on paper, it was the entire area that was seeded into India. Fine. But soon it happened. Then there was illegal capture by the tribal people and military of the Pakistan. Okay. And unfortunately, then it is all history. We went to UN, and then there was a ceasefire. So because of the ceasefire, all got stranded where they were. Fine. Unfortunately, we didn't have the military capacity at that time, or else, uh, at that time there was Pakistan was completely backed by US. Sorry. Then it became quite easy. But if you look at this region in the map, you look at the physical map of India, you will find that this is the very, very physically very difficult terrain. The terrain, the topography of this region is very, very difficult. You just look the K2 mountain peak over here. It wasn't even scaled up till until last year in winters. It was in news. Okay, so the terrain and topography of this region is quite difficult to maintain. Even if it would have been a complete flat plain, there wouldn't have been much difficulty. Okay, every day we hear in news that there has been some terrorist attack. Why it is happening? Because it is very difficult to do surveillance in this region. The forests are there, the rivers are there, the mountains are there. Fine, we won't find any skirmishes taking place over here in Rajasthan, in Gujarat. Okay, the bordering becomes quite difficult in this region. Fine, so we won't go into all those things in detail. So where were we? So, if you talk about the land borders, Bangladesh shares the highest border with India. The total length of border that Bangladesh shares with India is 4,096 kilometer. Then the next is the China, 3,916 kilometer. Then we have Pakistan, 3,310 kilometer. Then Nepal, Myanmar, Bhutan, and the Afghanistan. So total overall, the total length of boundary, mainland boundary, it is 15,200 kilometer. Remember this figure and remember this sequence as well. Okay, because you never know what sort of question you might get in the prelim. Fine. Then if you talk about the water frontier, we have two water neighbors. One is the Sri Lanka and other is the Maldives. Fine. If you talk about the Sri Lanka is separated from India by the Palk Strait and the Gulf of Mannar. We have the Palk Strait over here and the Gulf of Mannar. Fine. Then just next to it, we have Maldives over here. The Maldives is separated by the 8-degree channel. Okay, 8 degree means the 8-degree north latitude. 8 degree, it is the latitude. Fine. So India is separated from Maldives by 8-degree channel and from Sri Lanka by Gulf of Mannar and the Palk Strait. Fine. So these are the two water neighbors of India. Fine. Yes. See, it is little bit further far away. If you're talking from the southernmost Nicobar, okay, the distance is little bit far away. That's why we do not usually take into that consideration. Fine. If you talk about the Andaman and Nicobar Island, the closest country is the Myanmar. Okay, because there are few islands of Myanmar. Okay, here if you see over here the Coco Channel. Remember this? Okay, the Coco Channel, it separates the Andaman Island from the Coco Island of the Myanmar. Then, if you're talking about the Andaman Nicobar Island, we also have our only active volcano present over here. Which one is that? Barren Island. Barren Island. Fine. So this is about the overall extent of India. Now let's move on to the physical map of India. We will be looking into this, the physical features of India. Basically, when we talk about the physical feature of India, we have the Himalayas, then we have the plains, then we have the plateaus, then we have the coasts, then we have the islands and the desert region. So basically, there are 6 features we can say. Okay, 6 physical features, and almost all of them are present in India. That's why this also makes India a quite unique country, because there are hardly few countries where you will find all 6 physical features present in a very great extent, to a great extent. Fine. So all 6 features are present in India. In the north, if you see, in the north, we have the Himalayan ranges. Here we have the Himalayan ranges. The From north to south, the Himalayan ranges are subdivided into different zones. The first is the Trans Himalayas. Okay, the Trans Himalayas are basically the Himalayas which are present in the Tibetan and the Chinese region. Fine. Then we have the Great Himalayas. The Great Himalayas does form part of India. Fine. The Great Himalayas are the highest mountain ranges in the world. Then we have Middle Himalayas, and then at the end we have Shivaliks. Fine. So if you're talking north to south, fine. Anyways, here you see you have the Great Himalayan ranges. Fine. Open your map books, all of you. Okay. Fine. You have the Great Himalayan ranges. Then in between here, we have the Middle Himalayas. Below that, we have the Shivalik range. Fine. So, north to south, they are divided into different zones. We have the Trans Himalayas, then we have the Great Himalayas, then we have the Middle Himalayas, and then we have the Shivalik Himalayas. If you talk about the slopes of the mountains, they are quite steep on the southern slopes. Fine. All these mountains, they are quite steep on the southern slopes, whereas on the northern end, their steepness is little bit gentle. Fine. Their steepness is little bit gentle, because here we have complete a Tibetan Plateau region. Tibetan Plateau region. Fine. Then these are further extended towards the east. The Himalayan ranges are further extended towards the east, where they are also known as Purvanchal, okay, or they are also known as Eastern Hills. Here they are further divided into different There are different ranges. We have Patkai Boom in Arunachal Pradesh. Then we have the Naga Hills in Nagaland. We have the Manipur Hills in Manipur. And at the end, we have the Mizoram Hills. Mizo Hills. Fine. I don't know why it is not getting zoom. Anyways, so then further, if you are talking about the east to west extension of the Himalayas, then also they are further subdivided. We have the Kashmir Himalayas in the west, also called as the northwestern Himalayas. We have the Kashmir Himalayas. There are different ranges present over here, like the Karakoram, the entire range. There are Karakoram ranges, Pir Panjal ranges, the Great Himalayan ranges. In between the Great Himalayan range and the Pir Panjal range, there is Kashmir Valley. Okay? Between Pir Panjal range and the Great Himalayan range, there is the Kashmir Valley. Fine. Then below that, here we have the Himachal Hills, Himachal and the Uttaranchal Himalayas. Below that, we have the Himachal and the Uttaranchal Himalayas. Fine. In Himachal and Uttaranchal Himalayas, there are three parallel ranges of the Himalayas found. Fine. There are three parallel ranges of the Himalayas found. That is the Great Himalayas, the Middle Himalayas, and the Shivalik. So, all these three ranges can be found in the Himachal and the Uttaranchal Himalayas. Then we have the Sikkim Darjeeling Himalayas. Okay, Sikkim and Darjeeling Himalayas. Here, the height of the mountains increases very rapidly. If you see in the map, you will find that here till Bangladesh, at the northern edge of the Bangladesh, it is completely plain region. It is completely plain region. But from here, there is a abrupt rise in the mountain ranges. Here, the highest peak, it is Kanchenjunga. Okay, in the map you will find Kanchenjunga peak. Okay, so it is a way too high peak. Fine. In Sikkim, okay, so there is an abrupt rise in the mountain ranges over here. Then beyond this, we have the Purvanchal in the Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, here the Himalayas are in the which direction? Northwest, southeast direction. Northwest southeast direction. But here in the Arunachal Pradesh, the direction is different. It is from the southwest to northeast direction. Fine. And they are divided into different hill ranges. There we can find Dafla, Mishmi hills. Then there are different ranges. They are basically named after the different types of tribes found in those regions. Sorry. हाँ, ठीक है. Fine. Then from here, the Himalayan ranges takes an abrupt from the eastern end. Here, the Himalayan ranges takes an abrupt turn and they move in the north-south direction. They move in the north-south direction. Fine. And here they are divided into different parts. Okay. Different hills are present. Naga Hills, Manipur Hills, Mizo Hills. Fine. So this region from where it is bending abruptly towards the south, it is called as the syntaxial bend. It is called as the syntaxial bend. syntaxial bend, right? There is a peak, Namcha Barwa. We have Namcha Barwa over here, fine. From there, it takes an abrupt turn. Now, regarding the formation of the Himalayas, how they were formed and everything, it will be covered in the geomorphology. Fine, it will be covered. It is a quite, you can say, you have to understand the plate tectonic theory, endogenetic forces, and everything. So it is quite a vast topic. Fine. So it will be covered in your geomorphology, in your optional part. Fine. Then regarding the physical features, there are further divisions of these Himalayan mountains, which will be covered in detail again in your optional in your paper 2 part. Fine. It will be covered in your paper 2 part. But here we'll just take a brief overlook of how they are spread, okay, and how they are divided only on an overlook basis. Fine. Any queries, any doubts? Any queries? No? Fine. So for time being, your duty is only to go through the map thoroughly. Just be aware about the locations and the physical features. If you talk about the east to west extent of the Great Himalayas, they are almost around 2,500 kilometer long. Okay, the east to west extent of the Great Himalayas, it is 2,500 kilometer long. And if you're talking about the width of the Himalayas, it varies between 150 to around 500 kilometers. If you see from the map itself, they are widest in the northwest region. Can I say that? They are widest over here, okay, and quite narrow over the eastern regions in the eastern end. Fine. We'll talk about all these things in detail. Then the next physical feature is the Indian plains, the Great Indian Plains. The Great Indian Plains, you see over here, they are the result of the deposition of the rivers, mostly the Indus, the Brahmaputra, and the Ganga river system. Fine. So the Indian plains, which are right starting right at the foot of the Himalayas, okay, starting right at the foot of the Himalayas, they are the result of the depositionary activities of the Indus, the Ganga, and the Brahmaputra river system. Fine. I'll just give you a brief explanation so that it becomes a little bit clear. See, uh, are you aware of the Eurasian plate, the Indian plate? Okay. Or I will just say that there were two land masses. There were two huge land masses present in the past. I'll use simple words. Okay. There was, let's say, in the north, there was Eurasia. And in the south, the there was the India. Fine. So there was the Eurasian landmass. I will call it as a plate. Okay. And there is the Indian plate. Now, what actually the plate is, we will look into detail the exact definition and the technical terms. Fine. In your optional classes. Fine. So basically, there is Eurasian landmass and there is an Indian landmass. Because of the tectonic activities, this landmass was moving towards Eurasia. And in the past, there was a huge water body over here. Okay, this water body was called as the Tethys. Okay, so because of the tectonic activities, it kept on moving towards Eurasia, and whatever the sedimentary deposits were present in this water body. Sedimentary deposits means there were some rivers, there were some rivers over here, there were some rivers over here. Okay, these were eroding the land masses. Okay, these were eroding the land masses, and they were bringing in the deposits, and they were depositing it at the floor of this water body. Since this landmass was moving towards Eurasia, slowly and steadily, the distance between this, it went on decreasing, and whatever the sediments were present, okay, it got accumulated, and it led to formation of the mountains, that is the Himalayas. Okay, I am explaining it in a very layman terms. Fine, I am not using any technical words right now. Okay, because I want to go with at an average level. Okay, some of you might would have done their engineering and might be here, and it will be difficult for everyone to understand. Okay, but when it comes to optional, we assume that by the time you have read everything, and it is fine to use all those words. Fine, so the Himalayas were formed. When they were formed, okay, now suppose if two land masses or any two huge bodies, whenever they are colliding, okay, can I say that there was such kind of upliftment? This upliftment, it led to formation of Himalayas, and there was this bending over here. Okay, if I am pushing these two land masses towards each other, there will be such type of formation. Okay, so these upmost part, it is the mountain ranges that were formed, and there was this bend which was formed over here. So there was little bit of bend formed over here, and there are mountains over here. Now these mountains, there is river Ganga originating from this mountain. There is Indus River. There is Brahmaputra. Okay, now they are eroding these rocks. They are eroding these rocks, and since they are eroding these rocks, they are carrying sediments with them. And over a period of time, this bend, it got filled up with lots of sediments, and this is how the North Indian plains were formed. Okay, this is how the North Indian plains were formed. Fine. So there are the Indus River system. There are n number of tributaries of Indus over here. So we have the Punjab plains, we have the Punjab plains. Okay, then we have the Yamuna river flowing in over here. We have plains in Haryana, then Uttarakhand. Fine. Then here, because of the Brahmaputra river, okay, we have the overall formation of the plains. I hope this is clear. Okay, then these plains are also further divided into different features based on the sediments. Okay, we have Bhabar, Tarai, Bhangar, Khadar. Okay, it is based on the sediment material that is carried by the rivers. We will look into detail that as well. Fine, but I hope it is clear up till here. Fine. So this is the location of the plains. This Then the next feature that we have is the plateau region. The plateau region. We have the Aravalis over here. Aravali mountain ranges. Can you locate it in the map? Aravali ranges. So it forms the northwestern part of the plateau. Fine. So this is the Plateau region of India. The Plateau region of India, it is mostly formed because of the excessive volcanic eruptions. Okay, there were large volcanoes present in the past. They were erupting lava. Okay, they were erupting magma. When it came on the surface as lava, this lava spread over vast regions, and ultimately there were formation of the plateaus. This plateau region is also extended up till here. We have the Meghalayan plateau, and in Assam we have the Karbi Anglong plateau as well. Fine. So the plateau region, this is the overall plateau region. There are two extensions of the plateau as well, the Meghalayan plateau and the Karbi Anglong plateau. They are separated by Malda fault. Now what is fault? We have a Malda fault over here. Okay, we will discuss in the tectonic earthquake chapter what is faults and everything, but just remember for timing there is Malda fault over here, which is separating the mainland plateau from the Meghalayan plateau. Fine. So the plateau region is the result of the excessive volcanic eruptions and the deposition of the basaltic lava. Fine. Basaltic lava. It is made up of mostly basalt rock. Fine. What are basalt rock? Gneisses. This also will study in the different types of rocks that are formed because of the different tectonic processes. Okay. We'll study the rock cycle, in which we will study the formation of the igneous rocks, metamorphic rocks, and the sedimentary rocks. Fine. So if you talk about the plateau as well, the plateau, it is also divided into different parts. We have the Malwa plateau over here. We have the Deccan plateau in Maharashtra. Okay. We have Karnataka plateau in the south. Okay. Then we have central highlands. Okay. We have Chota Nagpur plateau. Chota Nagpur plateau over here. Then the Meghalayan plateau and the Karbi Anglong plateau. Fine. Next feature, if you talk about, is the desert region of India, the Great Indian Desert. It is also called as the Thar Desert, the Marusthali Desert. Fine. The desert region of India. West of the Aravalis is the desert region of India. It is mostly desert because the precipitation in this region is very, very less. Okay, the southwest monsoon winds, whenever they are blowing, they do not carry enough moisture to this region. Okay, there is no blockage for the southwest monsoon wind as we have the Western Ghats over here. Okay, as a result the winds blow unobstructed. By the time they reach over there, they have lost their precipitation, the humidity as well, and as a result we have a complete dry region in this belt. Okay, so the Great Indian Desert region is there. It is, some also consider it as an extension of the Indian Plateau region. Okay, some also consider it as an extension of the Indian, the southern part is usually considered as an extension of Indian Plateau region, which over a period of time got covered with the sand. Okay, the desert sand. Fine. So we have the desert region over here. Then the next is the coastal region. We have two coasts, the western coast and the eastern coast. The western coast is considered as a submergent coast. Now what is submergent? That it is getting submerged. Fine. Now why it is getting submerged? Again, a topic of tectonic. There are different parallel faults present in the western region. Okay, there are different parallel faults present in the western region. As a result, it is getting submerged. There was a city called Dwarka over here. Okay, there was a city called Dwarka which got submerged, which is always in news. Fine. Then, if you talk about the western coast, as I said, it is quite a narrow coast. Fine. It is quite a narrow coast as compared to that of the eastern coast. Fine. The eastern coast is considered as an emergent coast. Okay. That the land surface is emerging upward. Fine. But if you're talking about the western coast, the land is submerging. The land is submerging. Okay. Why it is submerging? Again, as I said, I'm just giving a glimpse of what we will be covering in the optional parts. So it will be covered over there in detail. It is because of the faulting activities. Okay, there are n number of parallel faults over here, and those faults, they are getting submerged slowly and steadily. But for time being, just remember that the western coast is there. The western coast is, it is a quite narrow coast. Okay, and the eastern coast, it is quite a wide coast, and it is an emergent coast. Fine. From the map itself, you will be able to judge it. Fine. Any queries? Okay. Then the last part of the physical feature is the island groups. We have the two island groups, the Andaman and the Nicobar Island and the Lakshadweep Island. If you talk about the Andaman and Nicobar Island, it is considered as nothing but the part of the Himalayas only. Okay, some consider it as a part of the Himalayas, the extended part of the Himalayas, and the islands, they are nothing but the emerged mountain top surfaces. Okay, they are considered as the emergent top mountain surfaces. Then there is one volcanic island, as we have said, the barren island, the only active island. It is formed because of the volcanic activities. Now, how mountains are formed, there is a complete topic on mountain building. Okay, how mountains are formed, again, it is a part of your geomorphology. Then at the other end, make sure whenever you're studying this with respect to your prelims or with respect to your paper 2 optional or with respect to your GS, you study these islands quite thoroughly. Okay, they will be taught to you, don't worry, but you study those in a thorough manner. For example, these islands have always been in news. Recently, there were some name changes. If you remember, there were some islands whose names were changed. Can anyone tell? Can anyone tell the names of those three islands? These islands are quite significant. Okay, who was he? Subhash Chandra Bose. Subhash Chandra Bose. Okay, one island, that is the Ross Island. This is not clear. I'll get a better maps. Okay, Ross Island, it was renamed as the Subhash Chandra Bose Island. Then we have the Havelock Island, it was named as the Swaraj Island. Then there is the Neil Island, which was renamed as the Shahid Island. Okay, so keep a tap on all these things as well. Okay, so this will help you in your prelims, and even if you are using such names in your mains exam, it will help you a lot. थोड़ी सी देशभक्ति दिखेगी. ठीक है. It was Subhash Chandra Bose who gave names Shahid and Swaraj Islands in the past. Anyways, you'll study all those things in history. Fine. So these are about the physical features. So any queries, any doubts up till here? Any queries? Okay. So let's see little bit in detail. If you talk about the Himalayas, okay, there are the north and the northeastern mountains. As I said, the Great Himalaya range is somewhere around 2500 kilometer long, and the width it varies between 160 to 400 kilometer. They are further divided into Kashmir and the northwestern Himalayas. Then we have the Himachal, Uttaranchal, Darjeeling. If we talk about the Kashmir and the northern Himalayas, they comprises of the different mountain ranges, like the Karakoram range is there. You can just refer all these mountain ranges in your maps. It will be the northernmost range. Okay, the northernmost range. It is quite significant for India. Okay, because the China Pakistan Economic Corridor road passes through this just north of it. Okay, and there you'll also find Siachen Glacier. Siachen Glacier. There is Karakoram Highway. Karakoram Highway is there. Karakoram or Karakoram. Okay, so we have a here we have Siachen Glacier. Okay, and here we have the China Karakoram Highway, the China Pakistan Economic Corridor. It passes through this region. So the Siachen Glacier is of quite strategic significance for India, because we can have a direct overlook the Karakoram Highway. Fine. Recently, there were clashes between India and China, Indian and the Chinese forces. It was at the here we have a lake. Which lake? Pangong Lake, Pangongso Lake. Okay, here we have the Depsang Plains. Fine. This portion has been captured by China. Okay, Aksai Chin region. Fine. We have also constructed a highway over here. Okay, it was in news if you remember. Daulat Beg Oldie. Okay, Daulat Beg Oldie highway is there. Fine. You can just go through it, the news section. Fine. So this region is of quite significant to India, but because of the topography, it is very challenging and it is quite difficult to construct even highways and everything in this region. But still, we are doing quite a good progress. Recently, we are also trying to build a railway line. Okay, you are aware of the railway line, the highest railway bridge that is under construction. So all these current affairs linkages and the significance of this region we will be covering in your upcoming classes. But just remember these few things, that whatever I am saying, I am just helping you out, that you relate your current affairs, whatever the current affairs that you will be reading for the entire next year, you relate it with the physical actual position of India. If any particular place that you read in the newspaper, okay, you immediately try to locate it in the map and try to understand the significance and importance of those region. Fine. Okay, I hope it is clear, because this is a preparatory class where I am just doing a sort of inception. I'm preparing you that how you should read everything and in what way you should be covering your topics. Fine. Then we were talking about the Kashmir. As I said, the Kashmir Valley, it lies between the Great Himalayas and the Pir Panjal range. Then there are important passes present in these mountain ranges. The important passes, these mountain ranges, they are quite high. Okay, their height is almost 6,000 meter, 7,000 meter, some are even 8,000 meter. Okay, so if you talk about the Himalayan ranges, if you talk about the Everest, it is way too higher, 8,848 meters. But if you talk about the Karakoram range, the Ladakh, Jaskar, Pir Panjal ranges, here also the mountain ranges are quite high, 4,000, 5,000 meters. So it is very difficult to construct road at such a great height. Okay, it is very difficult to construct road at such a great height because the Himalayas, they are made up of loose sedimentary rocks. Okay, what are these? Again, as I said, we will covering. They are made up of loose sedimentary rocks, and then there is are frequent landslides occurring over there. There are frequent earthquakes taking place. As I said, that the Indian landmass collided with the Eurasian landmass, and it is still continuing. Even today, it is still colliding. Okay, now how it is colliding and what is happening, we will cover in detail. Fine. So it is still colliding, because of which there are earthquakes taking place in this region. Okay, there are large amount of earthquakes taking place in the Himalayan region. So because of all these things, landslides and earthquakes, it becomes quite difficult. Plus, being at a very high altitude, there are snowfalls. Okay, there are presence of glaciers. There are presence of large inland lakes over there. Okay, because of all these geographical physical features, it becomes the any type of infrastructural construction activity is quite tough in this region. We were not having highways beyond Manali up till now, but recently we have constructed some tunnels. Fine, the Atal tunnel is there. Okay, which is directly linking to the Leh Ladakh through the Kelang district. Kelang city, or sorry. Anyways, so there are, as I said, some freshwater lake, Dal and the Vuller Lake. Then there are certain saltwater lake, okay, Pangongso and Musiri. Saltwater lake means the water of those lake is saline in nature. Fine. Now, why it is saline? It is because of the large amount of sediments that are carried to these water bodies. Okay, they release their minerals. As a result, the water of these lakes become saline in nature. Fine. Then there are certain pilgrimage places, you might, some of you might would have already visited as well. There is Vaishno Devi, there is Amarnath cave, and there we have the Charar e Sharif Mazar. Fine. Then the next Himalayas that we talked about is the Himachal and the Uttaranchal Himalayas. Fine. Here, as I said, all the three types of Himalayas can be found: the Great, the Middle, and the Shivalik. The name Shivalik has been derived from a place called as the Shivala. Okay, it is a place near Dehradun. Fine. So from there we get the name the Shivalik. Then there are also some hill station: धर्मशाला, शिमला, मसूरी. मसूरी सब जाना चाहते हैं, ठीक है. Then here, if you look, there are presence of human life, and transhumanist is usually practiced in this region. Now, what is transhumanist? Migration. Okay. In the months of winter, heavy snowfall takes place on the hilly areas. Okay, on the hilly areas. And due to that, the tribal people staying over there, what they do is they migrate to the lower regions where there is little bit comparatively warm, along with their cattle and their herds, that is sheeps. Okay, and in the summer months, when this snow melts, there are grazing pasture grounds opened up. Okay, grasses are there. So for grazing activities, they again migrate to the mountain hilly areas. So this practice of migration during the summer and the winter months, it is called as the transhumanist. Fine. There is a tribe called Bhotiyas in this region. Then we have the Darjeeling and the Sikkim Himalayas. Okay, as I said, there is an abrupt rise of the mountain ranges over here. There is one quite significant importance of the Darjeeling and the Shivalik Himalayas is that there is absence of Shivaliks. There is absence of Shivalik formations. That is, there are no Shivalik mountains in the Darjeeling and the Sikkim Himalayas, but there are presence of Duar formation. What are Duar? Duar are the flood plains. Means there are presence of little bit of plain regions, again because of the erosional activities taking place at the higher mountains. The sediments are carried and the plain regions are formed. Those little bit of plain regions on the mountain slopes only, but little bit of plain regions, they are favorable for the tea gardens. Okay, you would have often heard about Darjeeling tea. Okay, so it is in this region. Fine. So remember this unique feature about the Darjeeling and the Sikkim Himalayas. I'll be sharing this notes with you soon whenever a group is created of you people on Telegram. Fine. Then we have the Arunachal and the Eastern Himalayas. Fine. Any questions? Okay. We have already seen the northern plains. They are divided into three major zones. There is the Bhabar in the northernmost part. Usually the width of the Bhabar plain is 6 to 8 kilometers. Here we have the Bhabar plain. Okay. Here we have the Tarai, sorry. Here we have the Bhabar plain. It is quite a narrow range. Fine. So the width of the Bhabar plain is just around 8 to 10 kilometers. Then after that we have the Tarai region. There is one unique feature about the Bhabar plains is that since it lies immediately at the foot of the mountains, since it lies at immediately at the foot of the Shivalik mountains, since it lies immediately at the foot of the Shivalik mountains, there are huge means large rocks are carried and deposited in this region. Large rocks, large sedimentary rocks are carried by the rivers and they are deposited in this region. Now, since the rocks are little bit larger in size, what happens is the river that is originating here in the Himalayas, the rivers that are originating, when they reach this narrow belt, the river completely disappears. If you visit Rishikesh, okay, from here, you'll find that at certain places, the river Ganga will be completely absent. You'll find only rocks present everywhere. Okay. So what is happening is that the sedimentary rocks, they are so large that the water that is brought in, it moves underneath. And on the top, you'll find only the rocks. But in the Tarai region, just south of it, the sediments are little bit finer. The Tarai belt, the sediments are little bit finer, and here there is again re-emergence of those rivers. Fine. Any doubts over here? Because you people look little bit confused. Kabhi visit karke dekhna, it will be much clearer. Okay, you'll find that on the surface there is only rock boulders present. Okay, but there is water. The river is still flowing, but it is little bit below. Okay, then the third, we have the alluvial plains. The alluvial plains are divided into Khadar and Bhangar. Okay, the newly formed sediment fine layer because of the river action, it is called as the Khadar, and the old sediment, it is called as the Bhangar. Fine. Then we have the Peninsular Plateau. Okay, as I said, it is divided into the Deccan Plateau, the Central Highland, and the Northeastern Plateau. Fine. So this is about the overall physical features of the India. So go through the map thoroughly. Fine. If you have any doubts, any queries, you can ask. Okay. That's it from my end.